Probability. Today we will discuss probability, the definition of probability, what a ratio would look like with probability. We'll do examples with a two-sided coin, and then look at examples with M&Ms. Something will happen. It could be the chance that we're going to get snow today, the chance that you're going to get heads when you flip a coin, the chance that you're going to win the lottery, the chance of something defined that will happen. How likely it is that some event will occur. That's another definition of probability. When we look at probability, it goes from a range from 0 to 1. 0 means there is no chance that the event that you want to happen will happen. And a 1 is the chance that something will happen. It will definitely happen. But probability can also be expressed as ratios and percentages. And the percentages will always go from 0 to 1. Probability can not only be, it can be a percentage or a ratio. And here are some definitions associated with probability. First, an outcome is any possible result of a probability event. So that we will look at the different outcomes and the probability of these outcomes. A favorable outcome is a successful outcome in a probability event. It will be the event that you want to find the probability of. A possible outcome, all results that could occur during a probability event. With a coin, it could be heads or tails. With a dice or one die, it would be getting a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6 would be all the possible outcomes. When you are looking for the probability of an event, we will write it as P, and then in the event, we will write the event that is favorable, the event that we are measuring the probability. It is the number of times the desired outcome occurs over the number of possible outcomes. We could also say that it is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of possible outcomes. I want us to think of flipping a coin. Let's find the probability of tossing heads. So the possible outcomes would be heads or tails because it's a two-sided coin. The possible outcome, or the favorable outcome, is heads. The number of possible outcomes, well, there are two of them, heads or tails. And the number of favorable outcomes is just one because our only favorable outcome. The probability of tossing heads is the favorable outcomes divided by possible outcomes, or 1 divided by 2. So let's take a look at a different set of data. I want to look at the M&M probability of the M&Ms shown on the screen. Let's look at the M&Ms to the right and answer the following questions. How many possible outcomes are there? Well, looking on the screen, I see just blue or yellow. You could, if you put all of these M&Ms in a bag, you can only get either a blue M&M or a yellow M&M. So what are the possible favorable outcomes? Well, we have two, depending on what you find. There's the blue favorable outcome, and there are 6 possible favorable outcomes because there would be 6 M&Ms in that bag. There's also yellow is another possible outcome, and it could be a favorable outcome. And there are 4 possible favorable outcomes. So what is the probability of each of the favorable outcomes? Well, the probability of getting blue would be the possible favorable outcomes, or blue M&Ms, is 6 divided by all the possible outcomes, which would be 10. We need to reduce this, and it would be 3/5. Or if you prefer, you could express this as 60%. We also have the other favorable outcome if we wanted to measure it, the probability of picking a yellow M&M. Well, there are 4 yellow M&Ms in the bag of 10 M&Ms. So the probability would be 4 out of 10, or 4/10, which equals 2/5. And if you prefer to write it in percentage form, 40%. There's a 40% chance that if you picked one M&M out of the 10, that it would be yellow. Now, something is very interesting when we add the sum of the probabilities of all the favorable outcomes. When you do add them together, they will always equal 1. It's a wonderful way to check your work. So let's bump it up a notch. And we want to look at more M&Ms and more choices. So let's look at the M&Ms to the right and answer the following questions. I want us to find the probability of choosing a red M&M. So how many possible outcomes are there? When we look at possible outcomes, we're going to add the total number of M&Ms that we see on the screen. There are 3 red plus 4 blue plus 4 yellow plus 5 orange, or 16 possible outcomes, because there are 16 different M&Ms that we could choose. How many possible favorable outcomes are there? Well, for this case, since we are looking at the probability of choosing a red M&M, then it would be the number of red M&Ms in this bag of M&Ms. So there are 3 favorable outcomes because there are 3 red M&Ms. Next, what is the probability of choosing a red M&M? Well, the probability of choosing a red M&M, we'd write it as the probability of red. So it will be the number of favorable outcomes, which is 3, divided by the number of possible outcomes, which is 16. And we would say that the probability of picking a red M&M is 3 divided by 16. Now we're going to just bump this up a notch, and we're going to ask, what is the probability of choosing a red or a blue M&M? Well, then the favorable outcomes would be 3 red plus 4 blue gives us 7 favorable outcomes. So the probability of getting red or blue, because we're only going to choose one M&M, there are 7 favorable outcomes divided by 16 possible outcomes. Well, let's take a look at one more example. I want you to try on your own. Look at the M&Ms to the right and answer the following questions. Find the probability of choosing a yellow or green M&M. And I would like you to first find how many possible outcomes there are. I want you to answer how many possible favorable outcomes there are. And I want you to find the probability of the favorable outcome, which is choosing a red or green M&M. Now it's at this time, just as a side note, that I would have the students do this on their own. Give them like a minute and then bring them back and we'll answer the questions together. How many possible outcomes are there? Well, possible outcomes, what we know is that there are 6 green plus 3 brown plus 4 blue plus 5 yellow plus 5 orange, or 23 possible outcomes. It's the total number of M&Ms that you see. How many possible favorable outcomes are there? Well, we want to know the probability of finding a yellow or a green. So there are 7 yellow. excuse me, there are 5 yellow and there are 6 green. So there are 11 possible favorable outcomes. So what is the probability of getting a yellow M&M if you reached in and you took one out of the bag containing the M&Ms that are shown on the screen, or a green M&M? It is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of possible outcomes. So that is how we would find probability. And probability can be expanded to looking at one die, multiple dice. It could also be expanded to looking at spinners or many other, or lottery events.